Charles.
So, Yubei, nice to meet you. And I know we've met before too. And AI Zip is actually a really interesting part of our community, and it's good to be able to chat with you today.
Nice to meet you too. We have met
Yeah.
before. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I mean, why don't we kind of get into it? I think, as I mentioned in the preamble before we started taping, there's lots of interesting companies in our community and doing all sorts of things. There's like I talk about the whole tech stack, from metal to cloud. There's all these layers in there of companies. It's like a team sport where you have to kind of work together to kind of actually solve problems with Edge AI and TinyML and stuff. So, and you guys you're right in there, right in the stack. And so maybe you can kind of give us a little background on who AI Zip is, kind of what's the origin story. Where did you guys come up with this idea? What's the whole deal?
Definitely. So AIZIP essentially is a company that we specialize building the world's smallest and most efficient AI softwares, AI models that can, with the hope to essentially go into anything, any devices, right? So we're
Right.
software only. We'd like to partner with all the hardware leaders in order to bring AI to the next gen devices.
Okay.
So over the years, we have partners with many very well-known brands in this community, right? So we won this year's CES Innovation Award together with
Yeah.
SoftBank, and we won the Best of Sensor Award with Bosch, and we won the Best AI Product of the Year award together with Analog Devices.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so along the way, we have formed a lot of these collaboration. As a team is almost born out of an accident, right? So we didn't have no plan to start a company at the beginning, right?
Okay.
And then COVID came, right? So COVID came,
Mm.
everyone was quarantined at home. My friend came to me, asked me, how do you actually build a working AI system? I had no
Mm.
idea. And that was a shocking moment because I've been always doing fundamental AI research for long and supervised
Mm-hmm.
learning, right? So when we say fundamental AI research, we really somewhat times mean useless, right? I know how to push the benchmark. I know how to write sometimes very good paper, but how to build a thing that actually work is the itchy part as an engineer, right? So
Right.
you don't I don't really know. So that was a interesting question, and we start to experiment something, and that eventually turned into a company because we all loved this and seems like a very useful thing to do
Mm-hmm.
at the time. Then we decided to create this company called AIZIP in the end, late 2020.
I have to ask. So the name, when I think of AI Zip, I think of WinZip. You remember that old tool where you zip your files together? Was there some sort of inspiration there, or was that the?
Yeah, so the name was the intuition of the name of the company is really zip is a format that you compress your file, right?
Yeah.
So you want to compress AI into essentially anything. That's why we put AI and zip together,
Zip.
right? So make this name. And yeah, almost like you have a zip that AI is inside, right? So
Right.
that's the intuition. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys had actually a really impressive booth at CES. I kind of stumbled upon it. I was wandering around, and all of a sudden I saw this huge thing, and it was like, and there was all these people in there, and I was like, oh, AI Zip. Wow, you guys are really kicking butt. So yeah, that you guys won an award with SoftBank at CES. I think we actually just did a live stream about that. That was for the aquaculture kind of fish farming solution.
Yeah, exactly. So we have a very good collaboration with SoftBank. And this year, that CES Innovation Award is about smart farming for the next generation of smart farming,
Right.
which is really, really important because, if you know about this market, a lot of the fish farmers actually went out of business because
Mm.
during the Well, everyone loves sushi, right? So, but
Sure.
we didn't know that a lot of these fish farmers actually went out of the business because a lot the fish food price actually increase the price increase actually is three times or so, right? So
Wow.
during the COVID period, which is
Mm.
crazy, right? So now accounts for 70% of the cost of the fish farmers. Right? So if you're not careful, and you can easily become a not a profitable business by doing that, right? Because the food is very expensive, and then when you
Yeah.
feed the fishes, right? So it's not going to,
You don't want to
a lot of
overfeed.
these food are, yeah, it's a wasted, right? So
Mm.
the idea is really put AI there under the water to really gauge, count the fish, and also gauge where the appetite is, right? So when to feed and how to feed precisely, almost like you try to water your plants very precisely, right, to save
Hmm.
water. And the same
Yeah.
idea
Yeah.
is here.
Got it.
And that turned out to be a great success. And of course, now that evolves into the next generation of fish farmer infrastructure technology, right? So with these computer vision powered techniques, and of course the Japanese artists, they are very creative. They designed that booth with a lot of these fish, almost like a movie, that
Yeah.
actually attracted a lot of the traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that
so
was
that we
impressive.
all loved that design. Yeah,
Yeah. No, it was really an
and we
interesting
also,
application. Mhm.
yeah, that and we don't only stop there, right? So now our collaboration extended to not beyond fish farm, but in general to agriculture, more categories, but
Mm.
also small language models, ultra efficient language model that can run on your device and do Q&A, do basic
Right.
RAG, retrieval augment generation, right? So that is another large scope for
Mm.
enterprise on device language model. We all know that language model is very has a huge market at the moment, right?
Mm.
But on-device market has been, really underestimated, and we see that market is coming very quickly. And
Yeah.
so we
So,
formed a team to tackle that.
mm. So the models you were using for the fish farming, the aquaculture, those were like DNNs running on phones, basically. Is that kind of the
Uh, yes, it's vision models
and
running
then the
on
idea is to
phone level
yeah,
devices, right? So when run Qualcomm
move the
chips.
DNNs maybe into the
Yeah,
cameras themselves at some point and kind of do that, right?
yeah,
But now you're
yeah,
talking about
exactly.
also because I think you guys also did a talk at Embedded World in Austin in the fall around running language models. I think it was like on brownfield systems or something. You were demonstrating like how efficient you could get language models to run on fairly, unaccelerated platforms, right? And so is that a big frontier for AI
Right.
zip? Is like how do you take language models and zip them up?
Yeah, same philosophy. So language model is one of the new frontier that we start to work on. Actually, we
Hmm.
started to work on that more than 2 years ago.
Hmm.
At the time when the CMU published a paper called Tiny Story, and then Sebastian Barbek at Microsoft, they picked up that thread and start to lead the small language model charge at Microsoft and start to talk about fee. That was the early some of the early work, tiny
Right.
stories and textbooks are you need, right? So this all you need category papers, right? But we love that, right? So because we see that the future, a lot of the future of the AI is going to be on device. I can show you a few numbers to support that. And
Hmm.
in just a matter of fact, Jensen Huang just NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang just went
Sure.
to No Prior, give a podcast and talked about what he in his vision, what would the future of the AI be? And he said that the future of the inference would be multi-scale. You will have these large models and you will have these small models, right? So just like a natural intelligence, look at this world, right? So we have human, but we also have a lot of dogs, we have cats, we have jumping spiders, we even have ants, right? So there are intelligence at every level.
Right.
So we see that on the current inference. If you think about that, uh, it's estimated, right? So 99% of the data is actually originated on device, which is
Yeah.
not surprising because
No.
where there are sensors, there are
That's
data,
the
right?
real
So
world, as we call it.
exactly. But the surprising part, another surprising part, I think, is more interesting than this, is that if you think about the compute and actually add up the world's compute capacity in all these HPC centers, right,
Mm.
for these amazing GPUs, right? So you realize that it's roughly also 1% compared to on device, which is interesting because just because the sheer numbers of devices out there, right? So in your phone, everyone's pocket, in the cars, and smart cameras. When you add this up, it's almost two orders magnitude more than in cloud computing resource.
Wow.
But yet, more than 95% of the compute AI traffic, AI workload went to the cloud, which is interesting. Majority of the investment also went to the cloud, which creates a huge opportunity for on-device AI. Right, so we see that opportunity coming very close,
Yeah.
and mainly
Yeah.
because three forces, right? So the market is there for it, and the hardware's capability is quickly increasing. Just a matter of fact, if you think about 7 years ago, Apple's A11 chip, I believe that's the first generation that carries a neural engine, right? So the
Mm.
compute capacity for that was 0.6 TOPS. And last year, A18, the compute capacity for that neural engine is 35, six-fold more in 7 years.
Yeah.
And A19 is around the corner. And in 2 years, we're going to see a lot more than 100 TOPS compute capacity on device, right? So a lot
Yeah.
of these
Yeah.
capacity is sitting in your pocket. The language model will be on device. A lot of these day-to-day, elementary intelligence, everyday intelligence, we call that, will
Mhm.
be in your pocket, on your device, available there, right? So that's
Mm.
the future we see. So language model would not be an exception. So
Right.
we form
Right.
the group and start to tackle that problem, start to put AI agent on device.
Right. Yeah. No, it makes total sense. I mean, like you said, 90% of the data originates in the edge or the real world, and the compute, it's an interesting stat to sort of add up all the compute out there relative to data centers, and and there's all those benefits of doing things on the edge, doing things where the data is created. So that's kind of your frontier. And so my understanding too, also though, is like there's tops, but there's also like sort of memory constraints too. I mean, one of the things that's sort of holding back language models in sort of resource constrained environments is it is kind of a memory hog. So do you see like a lot of kind of progress happening in that space in the next couple of years, other than
Yeah,
just
there are a
stopping more
couple
memory?
very exciting opportunities in that direction.
Mm.
So I would say the memory, yes, you're absolutely right, and we start to realize that computer is not everything. A lot of the times, bottleneck can be your memory. But one
Mm.
thing is very interesting to see. For example, let's still take Apple as example. A lot of the chip design is around how to resolve that memory bottleneck, right? So that unified memory architecture, right? So all these designs are for the next generation of AI, right? If that's not designed for AI, a lot of these hardware design makes no sense,
Mm.
right? So I think the hardware leaders are preparing for that future and try to co-design their architectures so that it will be appropriate for the future AI workload.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
AI is just a new type of software, right? So need the right hardware to support. I think that this community is actually working on the right direction to
Mm.
form this co-design, hardware and
Mm.
AI software co-design, and that will be appropriate for the future AI workload on device. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, in the commercial space, as you know, there's always a challenge in terms of doing greenfield deployments versus more brownfield, and how do you sort of add AI capabilities into existing deployments and things like that. So I think that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But for sure, I mean, it's almost hard to believe, even from a few years ago, how much more compute is possible. And I mean, you guys are focused on the software part to make it happen, so that's pretty exciting. Are you primarily focused? Well, you talk about SoftBank. So is Japan like a market for you, big market, or what? Where you're in California? I mean, how big is AI Zip? Are you a multinational conglomerate, or what's going on?
Well, we're still pretty lean. We have 30 probably 30 some full-time, and then including part-time, we're looking at sub 50.
Mm-hmm.
So majority of us are in California, but
Mm-hmm.
we do have an employee from Japan, from Korea, from Germany, from China, from Taiwan. We have the decentralized factor, right? So, but the team
Right.
has been very have a strong bonding. We have zero attrition, so
Wow.
which is hard to do in the space, right? So
Very
it's
hard.
as a such a size, yeah, and yeah. So we love Japanese market, and we myself I'm a I'm a judoka. I have done judo for 8 years, and
Hmm.
we love Japanese market, and we have a lot of very fruitful collaboration with Japanese companies. For example, SoftBank is one,
Mm-hmm.
and now we have a long-term collaboration with Renaissance,
Yep.
and we have a few very a strong and strategic partner to be released soon. That's also in Japan, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Japanese companies are leaders in many dimensions, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a very important
Definitely.
market for us.
Yeah, and they've been deploying technology, leading technology in retail and healthcare and industry and robotics there for decades. So good place to be. What do you think
And
is
you'd be
like?
surprised at how many people speak Japanese in ASM. I was surprised, right? How many people at ASM actually speaks very fluent Japanese. I was like, okay,
Oh,
wow, good for you guys.
interesting. That's a good skill. What do you think about like model portability? I mean, you're in the model business, you're in the software business. The edge is notoriously fragmented and heterogeneous, right? You mentioned
Yeah.
there's always a new chip and a new thing, and they tend to be, they tend to have their own interesting, unique designs. How do you manage portability of your models and software across these different heterogeneous platforms?
I love this question. So this question is actually very important. I think the statement I'm going to make is going to be very important for a lot of these hardware leaders too. Um, One thing we start to observe is that, of course, you need a lot of these deep hardware knowledge in order to make this happen. And
Hmm.
we, even though we are software only, we're very, very strong in terms of hardware expertise, right?
Sure.
So, and that definitely helps, right? So, over the time, we built a lot of these AI, what we call AI design automation tool chains that will deploy your model onto different target platforms, right? So there,
Hmm.
just to name a few, there are ARM. ARM is a good platform, and then
Sure.
RISC-V, that's another
Hmm.
one, and Qualcomm's Hexagon, and there are Cadence Hi-Fi series, right? So there are many very important platforms, right? So we formed the automatic deployment flow for that.
Hmm.
And one thing I do realize that that's a remaining challenge that I think it need further collaboration between us and the hardware leaders is really to form this new partnership to co-design hardware and software.
Hmm.
That's a gap we start to see. I think NVIDIA is doing great in that dimension, right? So because we all know that Moore's law has been slowing down, just in terms of the hardware side, right? So the new
Hmm.
innovation a lot of the times come from co-design, right? So for example, NVIDIA designed their data center, right? So almost like a new compute unit, right? So and then a lot of the co-designs there to facilitate communication here, try to compress a lot of the things into a small form factor. And Apple is also doing great, right? So there's an internal AI application development in Apple, and there's strong hardware component there too. And then you can do this co-design, right? What do
Hmm.
we see, in for the rest of the community is that we really need to form this strong partnership so that the AI experts, software experts, and hardware experts sit together and define the next generation of hardware. By doing
Hmm.
that, I think we can continue the scaling to improve the capability, rather than we think that hardware is going to be like this, and we developed our network, right? So, and then we realize, well, it's not deployable on this hardware, right? So that would be a pity, right? So I think more seamless collaboration and integration would be definitely very important for this community.
Interesting. Yeah, no, it's a tough nut to crack, because I think a lot of the semiconductor partners want to kind of have their special sauce and their architectures that have their advantages, but from a software side, sometimes that can be kind of challenging to sort of, take advantage of all those things and still have some portability. So, I mean, it's been solved in the application space through all these different frameworks and things, which, anytime you start doing, kind of abstractions and things like that, you get performance issues and size issues and things like that. So, but it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I think that is something that I've heard a lot about. So it's good that you guys are thinking about that. So. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it's just to compensate this point. I think it's not merely a hardware issue, right? So, for example, let's say you're selling Windows, right? So, and another hardware supplier, they build a new processor. It would be a pity that a new processor cannot support Windows, because Windows is going to be a useful operating system to have on your hardware, right? So. To have these experts in the same room co-define the future, I think that is important, so that we don't waste our, capabilities, right?
True. By the way, it's hard to get a new processor to support Windows, just a FYI. So I was in the Windows team for a little while. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah,
so I don't know
definitely.
If holds, but yeah, it's doable. But no, I hear you. I think it's going to be an interesting bridge to cross. I mean, I know that there's work at Microsoft, for example, with Onyx and some other frameworks and other things. So maybe there's some point there where there's more cohesion, but we'll see. Cool.
Definitely.
Any last words of wisdom about AI Zip that you want people to know about? I think we got a pretty good view, but what else? What's the thing that people should know about AI Zip that you don't think they know yet?
Yeah. So I think at the beginning, our vision for AI Zip was that there's a big opportunity in on-device resource, right? So that has not been tapped into. And the end game we see that is going to be the future of AI is going to be hierarchical, and where you really have a lot of these giant models and all the models in between, they can do their useful things and have their specializations, and but meanwhile being ultra efficient. And we envision really to be the portal of the future AI traffic, where there are sensors, there are AI models. And so that, even though very simple, but that could be the first station for a lot of this data to interact with the AI ecosystem, right? So that's one of the vision we have. Another thing that is quite unexpected, but over time I start to think more and more, is the efficiency is actually more than just a application problem. I will share. I shared with you several numbers at the beginning, very early on, but I want to share with you another three numbers. And the first one is always going to be the boring one, right? So, do any of you know how much power that the human brain consumes? It's a large model, right? It's a large language model.
I think I heard it's about 20 watts, 25 watts.
Here we go. Very nice. You are expert, right? So it's about 20 watts, right? So that's about the power consumption of an iPhone 15 Max.
Oh, 15 Max?
Which is, it's a big device, but still a lot more efficient than the large language. Let's say you have a 600 billion parameter models and you deploy that onto two A100 servers, right? You're looking at 10K watts. Or four servers, that would be 20K watts.
Oh yeah,
right.
Huge.
So that is the power gap, 3 orders magnitude roughly, right? But now I'm going to tell you the model difference, right? So we have this Tesla, right? So Tesla is very nice. Everything is on device. You have this on device perception, 3D perception, planning, navigation in 2D space, right? So with a few billion parameters, that's the model size, right? So based on the foundation, then you build different heads for different detectors, right? So that's the model. But I will give you an example in the natural intelligence world. It's a jumping spider. The jumping spider right, also have 8 cameras, 2 front, 2 on the side, 2 on the back, peripheral, and then another 2, right? So 8 cameras.
Got it.
8 cameras, 360-degree of vision, right? So build scan the environment and build a 3D perception. And it can does not 2D navigation, but 3D navigation, right? So it will look at its parade here. Okay, I need to go down here and go through the bush and go up here and get to its parade, right? So that's very tricky 3D navigation, right? How many neurons does a jumping spider have to accomplish all of this?
I don't know, 1,000.
No, not that small, but a few million neurons, right?
Okay.
A few million neurons instead of a few billion neurons, right? So that's again, we're seeing this 3 orders magnitude difference. And finally, I think that's going to be even more interesting. This number is that we are talking about, we love large language model, right? So the scaling is so far one of the most robust law we have found so far. But the question is, every 1.5 years, we are seeing the training tokens becomes 10x more, right? So we start to chinchillas, I believe it's 1.5 or so, and then now Llama 3 last year was 15 trillions of tokens, right? So we're constantly seeing bigger. Apple just released a new training set, which is 200 trillion tokens. That's a lot of tokens, right? But for human, how many tokens can we actually acquire before age of 20?
I don't know. I kind of
and that number is not going to be a big exactly. Oh, well, let me do this simple exercise for you, right? So let's say start from day 1, we start to read text, right? So we are going to read 10 words per second, which is a lot. Yeah, usually people cannot read more than a couple words per second. And let's assume each of the word is 3 tokens rather than 1.3. 1.3 is the average token per, for general English text, I believe. And then, but let's say you're reading really complicated words, right? 3 tokens per word. And now that makes 30 tokens per second, right? So you're going to do this 12 hours for 20 years, 12 hours per day for 20 years, right? So that is going to be 9.6 billion tokens for 20 years, right? That's 3 orders magnitude again difference, right? So you're seeing this, learning efficiency, model efficiency, energy efficiency. You constantly start to see this 3 orders magnitude difference, right? So I think that's one of the next scientific frontier, right? So how do we actually decipher this gap, right? Just a matter of fact, right? So when the steam engine actually first came out, right? So do you know what's the energy efficiency for a steam engine?
I don't know. Probably not much.
That was not much. That was a very tiny number. I was surprised at how small that was. I think I remember that was a 0.2%.
Wow.
Right now, nowadays we constantly start to see 20 to 50%, right? So depends on what type of engine we're talking about. But that is the energy gap, right? So energy efficiency gap improved by 3 orders magnitude also, right? So I think data is a new type of entropy, right? So we're seeing this, we're at the beginning of this revolution. It's almost like we now have a steam engine, which is not super efficient. But I think getting this efficiency up would be an important step towards AGI, actually.
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, you're right. I think
it's an unexpected thing.
Yeah, and that's some fantastic analogies that you have there, and I agree. I think we're sort of at the steam engine phase, and so we know that there's a lot of upside there, especially in efficiency. I always say efficiency is the new currency. That's kind of the new thing, is how efficient can you be with power and cost and other things to get these things done. So cool. No, this is really helpful to kind of get a good picture of where you guys are at, and looking forward to more success. And I think for folks that don't know who AI Zip is, now you do. So that's great, and appreciate the time.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. For this interesting conversation.